We're talking about the science of quitting. Hit it, Bob. On September 28th, 2022, I said 7 words that changed the trajectory of my career and honestly my life. I don't want to do this anymore. It was true, but it was inconvenient, it was terrifying, and I had no idea what would come next. I had just pitched the CEO at a well-known shoe brand for my company, Prismatic, a growth consultancy I had started 4 years prior that was on its way to becoming a multi-million-dollar agency. This was a huge deal for us, and if I landed this, it could open a whole universe of other huge deals. I had done my homework, my stellar team had built a beautiful pitch deck, and I'd been teed up by an advisor of this CEO to hit it out of the park. And then, seconds into my pitch, I was in free fall, watching myself go through the motions. My mouth was moving, I was saying all the right things, but I was completely out of my body. It was like watching a movie of my own self, doing and saying all the things I was supposed to do and say, but it felt completely wrong, like I had been cast in the wrong movie. So when the pitch, thankfully, ended, I took a breath, closed my laptop, and I said those 7 words out loud. Once this truth escaped from my mouth, it was impossible for me to deny it or stuff it back down. I had become a pro at saying and doing what others expected of me, but I was no longer willing to. I had lived most of my life afraid of failing, or worse, the whole world knowing I was a failure. By the age of 5, our brains are 90% developed. Until 13, we take in 3 times the amount of information as adults, and we're laying down neural pathways that map emotion, behavior patterns, and meaning. My story about what quitting would mean about me was already being written by the time I started school. And in the English language, quitting gets a bad rap. The word grit, its synonyms are steadfast, perseverance, guts, courage, pluck, but for quit, there are hardly any positive words associated with quit. In fact, a synonym is coward. Language feeds our narratives, which is how we make meaning in culture. We prefer heroes who persevere beyond their own physical and emotional well-being, pushing past their limits to victorious triumph, exhausted, depleted, even maimed, but not a quitter. During my senior year at Dartmouth, I was admitted to Dick's House, the student hospital, after I started having paralyzing anxiety attacks and went 3 days without sleeping in a manic effort to power through an honors thesis. I remember feeling proud that it wasn't by my own choice that I had to quit. My body and brain shut down first. We glorify hustlers and heroes who don't give up, and in some cases even perish in the name of their objective. 1996 was one of the deadliest years on record on Mount Everest. The story is told in the book Into Thin Air. Among those that lost their lives was a group led by the legendary guide Rob Hall. One of the major factors in the disaster was that this team pushed through their 2 a.m. turnaround time, the time set in alpinism to forego the summit bid in order to return to camp safely. There were others that day that stuck to their turnaround time or quit when they should have and returned safely to their families. But they are in the background of the documentary. Nobody remembers their names. They are invisible to us because they aren't the heroes of our story. Unfortunately, Rob Hall and the other exceptional climbers that lost their life that day on Mount Everest were not able to escape the behavioral biases that keep us all from quitting when we should. Escalation of commitment, one of the most seductive. There's a Japanese video game called Katamari. You have a sticky little ball, and you roll it around the room trying to pick up dust, grains of sand, eventually cups, the cat, a couch, houses, incrementally adding items, trying to pick up eventually a planet. Psychologically, we all have our own version of the Katamari ball. It keeps us locked into the path that we're on. We've got time, resources, money, and even our own identity fully invested. When faced with the decision to persevere or quit, we're more likely to power through. We've accumulated all this debris like a Katamari ball. Ironically, then, we double down. And the next time we consider whether to persevere or quit, this ball is even bigger. Eventually, it feels like it's the size of a planet, and you're thinking, well, I really can't quit at this point. Omission-commission bias is a belief that not taking action isn't as much of a decision as taking action is. Let's say you're in a career or relationship that just isn't working and you know it. Staying the course or maintaining the status quo feels like you aren't making an active decision. You believe you're avoiding future regret if the change you make doesn't work out, which would then make you an idiot in addition to a quitter. The truth is, you are making an active decision in both scenarios. One that guarantees 100% you remain unhappy, and the other gives you at least a 50-50 chance to find a better fit. The best poker players in the world quit at least 75% of the time. Quitting is their superpower. If they let themselves be run by the stories about what it means about them if they fold, they'd never make it to the final table. The World Championship of Poker is a whole bunch of quitters pulling millions of dollars in the winner's circle. We should be quitting a whole hell of a lot more. Our fears and conditioned norms tell us quitting is the easy way out, but I promise you it is the brave way in. When I said those 7 words that day, I don't want to do this anymore, it allowed me to stop going through the motions and begin to show up for my own life. The things I thought I was going to get as a result of gripping tighter, working harder, and refusing to quit actually stayed just out of reach until I decided to open my mouth, say what was actually true, and set my own self free. Thank you.